Hi everyone, welcome back to Nature Walks with Gabe. This is a walk I went on alone in January of 2021 at Colonel Samuel Smith Park in Etobicoke in Toronto, Ontario. The same location as our second nature walk on this channel, which we'll link below. I saw a bunch of the regular local songbirds on this day, which are always so nice to see. Northern cardinal, song sparrow, American goldfinch, white-breasted nuthatch, black-capped chickadee, even a mourning dove, which is not actually a songbird, but still nice. And of course, our introduced house sparrows. I don't just bring birdseed or other food out to wild places and leave it there, but clearly people had it on this day, and it had also begun to attract some of the local mammals, more specifically, probably the most abundantly visible mammal in all of eastern North America, the eastern gray squirrel. Nice big pudgy, floofy ones here. Clearly they're getting through the winter just fine. This walk actually ended up being a very interesting one for mammal sightings, and I saw 3 more species, beginning with a domestic cat. Whose cat is this? Who's letting their cat run around the park? This one even managed to catch a small rodent of some kind. I absolutely love cats. We have 2 of our own at home, but one has to be aware that cats are extremely deadly predators for small animals. And the domestic cat is responsible for the deaths of billions of small animals each year. Most of these are small mammals, and this is mostly done by feral cats, but people's pet cats allowed outdoors still count for the deaths of millions of songbirds each year as well. And many of the small mammals they kill and catch are native species. So if you have a cat at home, please do keep it well supervised outside, or just keep it inside to protect the native species living around you. Speaking of predators, as I was going around the big pond on the east side of the park, I also saw a very special mammal species. A mink! So exciting! Awesome day! But this mink wasn't having an awesome day. Look at this. You can see the mink run from the island to the cover of the logs, and above it, a raptor, a bird of prey, is swooping around. I would guess that this bird's probably a Cooper's hawk. This is the best look I got of it, but regardless, it's very likely that it was trying to make the mink its next meal. A mink is actually not any bigger than most of the eastern gray squirrels that we have around here, and larger hawks like the Cooper's hawks and red-tailed hawks love to make meals out of squirrels when they get the chance, so why not a mink if the opportunity provides itself? How neat is that? Less active, but still fun to see, was this raccoon sleeping up in a tree. Did you know that Toronto is the raccoon capital of the world? There are a greater concentration of wild raccoons in Toronto than anywhere else on Earth. So it's actually pretty common to see one conked out in a tree somewhere in the city. As most of you will know, raccoons are primarily nocturnal animals. They're most active at night, meaning the vast majority of the time you see them during the day, they're sleeping, like this guy. Like last time we were here, I saw a lot of waterfowl on this day. Waterfowl is an old word that basically means birds that live in or around water that people might like to eat. But scientists believe that these birds, which we mostly refer to today using the words duck, goose, or swan, are actually related to each other in a group that we've named the anseriforms. One thing I'm always amazed at when I see waterfowl is how comfortable they are in the water, especially in winter. You'd think that they would freeze to death. And while a lot of waterfowl will migrate south to warmer climates during the Canadian winter, a lot of waterfowl purposefully come to the Great Lakes to spend the winter, especially as our growing cities and climate change mean that there's more consistently open water in many locations, like here on the shores of Lake Ontario. Nevertheless, just because the water is above freezing in temperature doesn't mean it couldn't kill a bird with hypothermia. And birds have even warmer base body temperature than we humans do. So how do they survive? Well, multiple ways. First of all, waterfowl feathers are incredible. They have multiple layers of feathers with tiny barbules that zip together to make layers that keep warm air in and water out. But even their feathers seal wears out over time. So waterfowl produce a waterproof oil from their preen gland, which is down by their tail. They use this oil to waterproof their feathers, using their beaks to spread it around their body. But birds don't have feathers everywhere. And while they may be able to tuck their beaks into their feathers to stay warm, what do they do with their feet? Many birds, but waterfowl in particular, are known for having countercurrent heat exchange in their blood vessels. Countercurrent heat exchange works in ducks' legs and feet because there's a special collection of blood vessels there called the rete mirabile. And this means that instead of heat going just straight from the body into the legs and feet dissipating into the environment, it's transferred directly from the inflowing blood to the outflowing blood without ever getting to the feet at all. This does mean that the feet of waterfowl do get extremely cold in the wintertime. They receive just enough heat and blood flow to allow the animal to function. It's an incredible design to allow these birds to survive the cold. Okay, this is overdue. Since ducks are a favorite topic in these videos, it's about time we talk about mallards. The mallard duck is the quintessential duck. When you think duck, you likely think of a mallard. And it's believed that most domestic ducks are descended from wild mallards. And if we're talking about mallards, we need to take a moment to mention sexual dimorphism. That's when the males and females of a species have a different shape or features from each other. Other very famous examples would be lions or peafowl, but besides them, mallard ducks are probably the most famous example of this in the animal kingdom. One of the most common forms of sexual dimorphism is sexual dichromatism, meaning that the males and females are different colors from each other. And just so we're all on the same page, for most of the year you can tell a male mallard duck apart from the female because males have green heads and yellow bills, while juveniles and adult females are brown with dark streaks, and their bills come in a range of colors. Though sometimes this is evidence that the duck you're seeing is actually a hybrid between a mallard and another kind of duck, which actually happens quite a bit. The mallard is found across the northern hemisphere. Where you find water, there's a chance you'll find a mallard. They're tough, adaptable, and actually pretty big for a duck. Here in northeastern North America, mallards dominate. While other species will more often gather in huge groups, you can find mallards everywhere, exploiting a far greater range of water sources than other ducks, especially during mild winters. But their diet is one of the biggest keys to their success. Mallards are omnivores, eating a wide variety of small plants and animals, mostly invertebrates, both in the land and in the water. Mallards are the most famous and widespread members of the subfamily Anatinae, or more commonly known as the dabbling ducks. It's a big group that includes lots of other North American duck species like the gadwall, the green-winged teal, the northern shoveler, and the American black duck, all of whom will sometimes hang out with mallards. Dabbling ducks are also known as puddle ducks because you can see them on bodies of water just about any size, including puddles. Their beaks, which are also called bills, either is correct, have dozens of tiny grooves and points which almost look like tiny teeth. These are called lamellae. They don't use them to chew their food like we do. Instead, they are designed to help them filter tiny organisms, tiny plants or animals or plankton, out of the water or mud that they're searching for food in. And this allows them to be able to survive at just about any body of water. Mallards and other dabbling ducks are also famous for going bottoms up to grab food from below the water surface, whether floating in the water or stuff that's actually on the bottom. These general traits are shared by the larger waterfowl I saw on this day, Canada geese, and swans. Of course, these species have the benefit of long necks and larger size, so they're able to reach food much deeper in the water, as well as eating bigger food than the smaller mallards can handle. The swans we're seeing here are mute swans, and they feed mostly on plants and small animals in the water, but they will come up to feed on the land, especially in farmers' fields in the winter. Mute swans are originally from Europe, but they're well established across southern Ontario now. Like we mentioned in the first Nature Walks with Gabe episode, all swans tend to be monogamous, meaning that unless one of them dies early, they have one romantic partner for their whole lives, which again is adorable and wonderful. So usually where you find one swan, you'll find another one nearby. Sometimes swans will gather in bigger groups too though, especially juveniles and extra especially in the winter. Some people call these groups a bevy, which is simply smashing. But mute swans are also one of the few sedentary waterfowl species in our area. That means they only leave the area if all the open water freezes. The main reason for this seems to be that each pair comes back to the same nest year after year, and they don't want to share their prime location with anyone else. The mute swan was the biggest species of waterfowl I saw on this day, but I also got a look at the smallest diving duck in North America here, the bufflehead. Buffleheads, like nearly all of our North American ducks, except whistling ducks, are sexually dimorphic and dichromatic. And buffleheads, this means males are bigger and have bright colors, including the white underside and head patch, while females are smaller with only a little bit of white on their cheeks and wings. Many buffleheads spend the winter here on the Great Lakes, where there's basically always some open water to be found, and that gives lots of space for them to look for food. Unlike the mallard ducks and mute swans, which mostly eat plants, buffleheads and other diving ducks are carnivorous. They mostly eat other animals. And for a duck, most often that means diving under the water to catch their food. And the bright colors of the male buffleheads in clear water on this day allowed an amazing view of these buffleheads diving and foraging, or searching, for food. The animals that buffleheads eat are mostly invertebrates. In the Great Lakes, that mostly means water-living larvae of insects, and crayfish, snails, and mussels. Their waterproof feathers allow them to easily duck under the water and swim around searching for food near the bottom without ever getting soaked or chilled. You can see the way they use their feet to propel themselves forward. It's pretty amazing and very cool to watch. Speaking of amazing, the reason we came to Colonel Samuel Smith the first time was to look for snowy owls. And on this day, I actually saw one! A pretty big one too, probably a female. Often snowy owls will hang out in wintertime around harbors, often on the docks and quays where they're able to have a bit of privacy. Some snowy owls migrate down from the Arctic every winter to more temperate regions where they add waterfowl to their summer diet dominated by small mammals. Though we're learning that most of the owls who migrate this far south are juveniles who were just born in the last year. Many adult snowy owls are actually tough enough to last the entire winter up in the Arctic Circle. Just awesome. And still, speaking of predators, did you see that? Chasing after these European starlings was some kind of super fast bird of prey. I don't know for sure what it was, but as I was heading back up to the parking lot from the peninsula, I did see this beauty up in a tree. A peregrine falcon. Like the osprey we've talked about before, peregrines have a presence around the entire globe. Peregrines used to be called duckhawks because they love feeding on ducks, so this is a great habitat for it. But they've also been recorded to eat hundreds of species of birds here in North America, including every single duck species, though pigeons, doves, and shorebirds are also favorite prey. I have seen more peregrine falcons in Toronto than anywhere else. They actually do quite well in big cities. There's lots of prey for them, and high buildings simulate the cliffs that they've historically nested on to keep them away from potential predators. An awesome sighting to wrap up a great nature walk. Thanks so much for joining me on this little bit different nature walk with Gabe. Be sure to find joy and wonder wherever you are today. We'll see you next time. Lord Jesus, thanks for this great day, for your beautiful creation, for your love for us, and good friends to share all these things with. Amen.